Welcome to Verbal Pick Radio, where we give you a verbal image life, and we are everyday people. Like to welcome you all to the show. Look, this topic has nothing to do with feelings and emotions. It's a topic that needs to be discussed, right? And I'm not tripping or upset at the colonizer for using the tactics that he uses to get his point across, or to get whatever visual image he wants to get across to the general public in creating the outcome that he wants. Like you're going to see in a lot of movies and in commercials, you're going to see the black woman with the white man. Right? And this all has to do with fatherhood. All right, let's get into it. You remember back in the day, you had songs like "Want a Roughneck," "Gotta Get a Roughneck," right? Tim's, and you know they wanted the hardcore, the gangster, right? Coming out the rap, out of music, right? In the 80s and early 90s rap culture, right? Well, you got to remember, when you were listening to music, they were putting out to the general public the type of music and artists, or the lyrics or the narrative that they wanted at the time to enter into the black minds, right? Why? Because at one point you had a lot of black men who saying, "Hey man, we are getting into business. We are." I mean, I knew going to school where black men wearing suits, right? Then it became roughneck, because you know the black man loves the black woman, so he's gonna be or try to be what she desires, right? So then you have black men. Well, okay, well, what's a roughneck, right? Well, and then you learn the characteristics of a roughneck. You finna jack them up, or you hard on them. You gonna beat it up. You know what I mean? And that's what was in, or women wanted in that time, right? Or that's what the colonizer pushed in our culture for the black man to be in that time period, right? So now, no longer the college guy is in, you know what I mean? The business guy is in, right? The book reader is not in. Now it's the roughneck is in. So now the roughneck is in, right? But then after the roughneck and the women was loving the roughneck, then all of a sudden he switched it to this nigga beating on me. This nigga ain't no good, right? Movies start coming out with those characteristics, right? He leaving the family. He got a woman over here and a woman over there. He want to be too hard, right? They switched it up, and now they have the narrative confused. But they done that so they can slide the colonizer's man right in that gap, right? Because if you notice, when in these movies, when you hear black women talk about black men, oh, that nigga beat me. Hell, you don't know where your man at. He left. I ain't seen him. They can't get a job. He's sorry. Nigga ain't built nothing. You know what I mean? And then when they talk about the colonizers, man, they call him sir, they call him by name, or they will show him in these movies as a builder, or the builder, right? Now we get into the subject, right? And that's okay, right? Those images of the white man building in science and mathematics, being in the medical field for his doctors, pharmaceutical field, or in nature as far as dealing with cattle, farming. Good images. Nothing wrong with those images, right? You want to know why? As Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, study the white man. He makes no excuses for his failures, right? Study him in business. Why? Why? Because he learned how to do all that from the Moors, from your fathers. So when you're looking at him operate in business, you're really looking at what he learned from the Moors, your fathers. You say, what? The Moors, my fathers? Yeah, I'm talking about Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Caribbeans, Brazil, in Spain, it's in Portugal, in Italy, Sicily. Yeah, the Moors was your fathers. Yeah. Now, let's get into that. See, you got to remember. And how far do I want to go back? Do I want to go all the way back to Do I want to go back to Yakub and General Mukmuk and then gathering up all of the colonizers that they could find, but the ones they couldn't find, brothers hid them into their houses because they was marrying them and having sex with them and was having babies all throughout the Middle East, right? And the ones that he could gather up and take to the Caucasus Mountains, where they were there until Moses came and raised them up, put a harness on their back, stood them straight up, made them a 90-degree perpendicular to the earth, right? Taught them, right? And then, well, now, when you hear Master Muhammad say the black man is God and the white man is the devil, right? It's so many different aspects to that, but I'm just going to touch base on one of those aspects, right? Because when the Moors left Africa, from Morocco, North Africa, before Nigeria was called Nigeria, because Nigeria was called Nigeria by a white woman in 1897. But before Nigeria was called Nigeria, okay, you had, and I might have the order wrong, and if I do, somebody can correct me on that. You had Kush, Nubia, Egypt, the Moors, right? Okay. All that the knowledge that of building carried on within the Moors when they went into Europe. That's why they were building castles, and when the Europeans were in caves and in sides of hills and paving roads, fixing the bubonic plague, showing the Europeans medicine and penicillin all the way through Europe, through Portugal, through Spain, right? But what did they do? What did it say in the Bible? What did he say? Don't mix your seed with the Canaanites. They mixed their seeds, right? But the black man is God. But what did they do? The children from the Moors that they had with the white women, the Moors took care of them. They taught them. They taught them how to build. They taught them how to become blacksmiths. They taught them animal husbandry. They taught them farming. The Moors was teaching in Europe and building in Europe, creating libraries in Spain. The Moors was the fathers of the Portuguese, the Spanish, some Spanish in Spain, because you got to remember the Visigoths had Portugal and Spain first. The Europeans had it first. The Moors came in, conquered, had sex with those women, but they took care of the children. All right. And then so when the Moors lost Spain in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, the Moors was already over here in the Americas. That's why you got Memphis, Tennessee. You got Islamabad. You got Islam, and you got Muslim names in the Americas, right? Because the Moors were already here along with the black natives that was here before the Siberians came, right? Before the Siberians came, and before the Siberians crossed over, came into the Americas. And that's another story where the Siberians conquered, though, the black natives that was here. The black mound builders got conquered by the Siberians, and they mixed bloods. And that's why when Columbus came over, he thought he was in India because of the dark skin color and whatnot. Okay, but the Moors fathered all the way through Mexico and through the Americas, right? Now, this was the difference since we're talking about fatherhood. But when the white Europeans, colonizers, when they came and conquered, and when they started raping and having sex with the blacks in Egypt, right? Because you got to remember, you had the Roman African or African Romans. You had Pope Maurice, the first black pope, because part of Rome was black. But I'm just trying to say, race mixing started. No, it wasn't race mixing. Those lands were being conquered by Europeans. The white man was taking those black women, raping them, and didn't build nothing for that son or that woman. He just left it chaotic in those areas where he conquered. That's the difference. So when a white man, when he gets to America, right, whether it be the French or whatever. So now, during the slave period, you got to remember this. The slaves that were brought in from Africa, they were brought in, and this was after the Moors got conquered in Spain. See, everything is right there with the Moors in Spain is your start. Because the hatred for the Moors in Spain grew the hatred for black people all over the world, right? The Inquisition was the model or the tool used they used the same tactics for slavery in the Americas of what they did in the Inquisition to the Moors in Spain. Same practice, same brutality, same evil, same wickedness. The question is, what did the Moors do, or why did the Spaniards, the Europeans, hate them so much, right? And if you look at it, it really was the children. It was the mulatto children of the black Moors who turned on the Moors and helped his white mothers and his white mother's family destroy the Moors that built such beautiful Cordoba. Go look at how beautiful the Moors and what they built in Spain. They didn't care about all that, right? They didn't say thank you for building these beautiful edifices, this beautiful mosque and this landscaping. Thank you for teaching us and raising us up out of nothing, right? Thank you. Nah, they attacked them for that, seems like. But we got to dig deep into that history to find out what was the problem. But now let's bring it to the Americas, slavery. White men raping black women, having children. But he didn't take in them children, right? Now, supposedly it states that who your father is, that's who you are. So if that white man raped that black woman, had that mulatto child, her father, she's white, right? We're going to get into white in a minute. But, okay, so that's Caucasian, not white, that's Caucasian, right? Okay, but what did the Caucasian do to that mulatto child that he fathered from that black woman? The Moor still, right, had to take care of that mulatto child that white man raped. He had to feed him and treat him like it was his. Black man is God, white man is the devil, right? That was that, right? So I'm not finished, but let me sum this up, then I'll go back. That's why we're doing this show on the importance of fatherhood and why the black man will always have to appear to be a bad father. Always. In their narrative, right? Because fatherhood is not just fathering a child. Fatherhood is a science, and it's also a building block. So you don't build and able to get back to the building Moors or building black men that you once were, then the narrative in these movies and media and shows gotta depict you as an unfit father. So you don't come back into your own and start building again out of a strong mind, right? Because why? The mind is the man. Whatever in the mind of the man, so is he, right? So if somebody's out there jacking, robbing, stealing, snatching old lady purses or whatever, that's in his mind. That's what he is. He's a person thief. He's a person snatcher. He's not a man. That's a person snatcher, right? A man now, if he's building, right, creating, right, creating paths for others and taking care of others, then that's the man. We got to separate and distinguish the two, and we have to understand the importance of fatherhood, being a father. So the colonizer did not take care of his children like the Moors took care of his children and showed and taught them, right? Now the Africans who was kidnapped, right, and brought to the America. Stop the lie, just like y'all lied and said Columbus discovered America. The lie was that the blacks that was in Mexico came to Mexico as slaves and had sex with Mexican women, and that's how you got the blacks in Mexico. Blacks always been in North, South, Central America. Always been there, right? And it wasn't no they came from slavery, no. The blacks that they took out of Africa, they brought them here, one, for cotton. Because when the European was in Africa and they saw the fine quality of that Egyptian cotton, they wanted to duplicate it right here in the Americas and build wealth over here. Because really they was in competition with Europe. Why? Because when they came to the Americas, the king and queens in Europe wanted to build in the Americas, but they didn't want to come here, so they emptied out a lot of their jails and sent the prisoners and convicts to the Americas to build. But then they wanted a tax. But these prisoners, these convicts, they finna come over here and give you a tax. No, they started creating. Once they started creating and they started doing business, that's why you got the Sundry Act. They was signing treaties with the Moors and the Americans. The Moors was protecting the American ships from pirates. These was black Moors coming out of Morocco. Y'all gotta remember, y'all looking at color and race mixing later on and saying that the lighter skinned Moroccans are the Moroccans. That's what you see today. But if you go to Morocco and you go like you go to any place in America, in the bottoms, you will see the original people, the black folk who been here. You go anywhere on this planet and you go to what they call the bottoms, that's where the original people are. And the people who came later or moved into and took over and conquered, that's just the face or the visual they'll show you as if they already been there. And that's not the fact, right? So they brought the slaves who knew how to grow the Egyptian cotton to the Americas. They enslaved the Moors who knew how to build the homes, the White House, because they wanted something similar to what Europe had. The Moors did that. You see these pyramids, what they call Mayan pyramids, and Moors as well. They took that knowledge from Egypt that they had and brought it all over the globe. Moors as well. So when you saying black and you saying Moor, you saying black, same thing. When you saying Negro, you're really saying Naga or Negus, King of King, Lord to Lord. But when you say nigga, that's just a perverted version of Nagas or Negus, Negus or Naga, right? Don't get it twisted. Okay, so now they tried to make it seem as if all of the blacks in America came from Africa. And you did have some Africans that was kidnapped, brought over here, right, to harvest and plant, because they didn't know how to do the Egyptian cotton. That was the finest cotton, right? Because why? Because it was money. Hey, look here, Europe. We got Egyptian cotton growing over here in America. Want some of this? We got spices over here. The Moors was over here doing the building and also showing the Caucasian how to do trade and set up trading posts, right? Teaching them that knowledge and that science, right? So you got the blacks coming out of Africa. You got the black natives that was already here, right? And you got the black builders, the Moors, all in here together, right? Then the white boy was like, damn, I can't tell none of them apart, right? I can't tell apart the Moors that came out of Spain, the blacks that was already here, or the Africans that came, that we kidnapped and brought to America. So what? Guess what? We're just going to enslave them all. Right. We're going to enslave them all. Yeah, I know we got a treaty with Morocco. I know it says that you can't treat the Moor like you treat the slave or the free man. We just going to enslave all of them because we can't tell the difference. Now, let's get back to white, right? White as a race didn't come about till later on in time during slavery, because they were like, okay, we got to use something to divide and conquer. Everybody that looks white, we're gonna associate y'all with white. But white, before the race, white just meant knowledge, wealth, gold, or if you own land. That if you own land, if you was educated, you had gold, or you was wealthy, you was considered white. Didn't matter the color. That's why if you go up and look up who all is white, they'll say Egyptians, people of North Africa, right? It didn't matter. Upper Nigeria, all that was you. If you coming from there, you considered to be white, right? But white was just a status. But he was like, the colonizer was like, well, we associate skin color with white status color to raise up the level of the white man and woman in the Americas, so they can be looked upon as something of value, because they knew they didn't have the numbers, they was outnumbered, right? Now this is where religion comes in at. Since it's Christmas time, we're gonna drop this in there too, and you all can go back and research and study everything I'm saying, right? Okay, so check this out. So now, since we're dealing with Christmas, so now you got, what happened was, okay, back with Constantine in the Nicene Council, when they were coming up with a form of religion that they wanted to put on the world, because what the white man was saying was, damn man, I'm tired of fighting all these wars. You know how much money it costs to keep fighting these wars, right? How can we control the people without physically fighting them? Hey, these black people, they believe in a higher power, a God, right? We got to create something, a religion to where they can believe in and say it's from God, right? We'll create this thing, Christianity. We'll create the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, Nicene Council. Arius comes out of Egypt and hears that and was like, hey, wait a minute. Y'all can't do that. He goes to the Nicene Council and argues the fact that one begot the other. You can't say they both the same when one was before the other, right? So by Arius stepping in their plan, Saint Nick, who you call Santa Claus, he steps up, slaps shit out of Aries, for getting in the way of what they trying to bring in, because he knew he gonna have a role throughout history. You know, you gonna be the Santa Claus. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna make Jesus white, and this is gonna be the new religion. That way, we don't have to keep fighting in all these wars, right? Okay. So now we fast forward to 1492, after the Moors lost. You got the doctrine of discovery, and the popes was like, look, anywhere you go where there's dark-skinned people and they not believing in Christianity, which he knew they didn't, you got the right to take their land under the guise of we teaching them Christianity, right? And bring that white Jesus along with you as well, and put that over their heads, right? So then it became, look, we got to stop killing or beating the slaves, right? We got to stop doing that. We'll just control them through our religion, right? And have them thinking that white is right and black is bad. Because why? We don't want them to see black is good, because then they'll start strengthening themselves, and they'll want to understand the science of fatherhood again. And now we got to start competing with the black father, and the black father is creating, they're outpopulating us by having children, and over time there'll be so many, we'll be so few. So we got to control them through something. Let's give them our religion, right? They did that. That's why I say it's not about hate. It's about people creating or formulating an idea, a plan in their head, and then they had the tactics to make it stick, because why? They had the gun. You had spears, sticks, they outgunned you. So you went along to get along to preserve your life, because he knew and you knew that going against his rule of thought, he'd have killed you back in those times, right? And we're discussing history. So today, you're gonna see it. I'm telling you, you're gonna see it more and more. The colonizer or the black woman desiring the white man that he's gonna put in his movies and his shows for a purpose, because he knows the importance of fatherhood. Now, in Louisiana and certain places where the white man fathered all these children by black women, he didn't take care of them. Those mulatto kids, right? Black folk the black man had to take care of them. The white man wasn't putting no money towards his mulatto children. He wasn't going back teaching them, showing them the mastery of his business and how he made money. All right? Had to go. So when I say the black man, meaning they had to go back to the Moor again. When I'm saying Moors as fathers, I'm saying look up on black men, look up on yourself as your fathers, the Moors, and what they created. Because the Moors was your father. The Moors fathered part of Mexico, part of Brazil, the Caribbeans, through the Americas, all over. Those, the Moors was your fathers. And go back and study what they built. You trying to make it seem like that part of Africa, right, was the majority, and it wasn't the majority. You know what I mean? That part of Africa was the majority, and it was not the majority, right? That wasn't the majority. The majority was the North Africa coming through Portugal. Well, the North Africa going through Ireland, Portugal, Spain, Mexico, all the way to the Americas. And they were fathering all over, though, and that's who you should be studying, and what they built, the science, medicine, and everything that they built. But what they get it from, of course, they got it from their brothers, because they are the Egyptians that left and traveled. It started from Kenya, Nigeria, Morocco, Egypt and Morocco, to Europe, to the Americas. Building, fathering, educating, and bringing knowledge. That's who you are. But to separate you from who you are, right? They got to make you think you contributed nothing. You was a savage. You don't take care of your children. You don't take care of your woman. You don't know how to be a father. You don't know mathematics. You don't know science. All you can do is create from a low frequency and teach that and pass that on for generations. That's not true. They created poverty. And they said, look here, if you want some money and you want to live like white folks live, then you got to talk about this. You got to act like this. And you got to do like this. And oh, yeah, crime pays. Yeah, it pays the lawyers and the judges. And you got to do that. And then here you go. Now you a black man. No. That's wrong. That's wrong. The lifestyle that white people are living of how they just want to stand up, stand tall, warriors, taking care of women, beautifying them homes, cleaning their yards, putting flowers and shrubberies in their yards, medicine, mathematics, science, trading, sales, money, economics. I was taught to them by your fathers, the movers. They are a walking example of what your fathers taught them. So all you got to do is study what your forefathers taught them. So whenever you hear somebody and you doing it right and you making money and you enjoying life, they try to tell you, are you trying to be white? You like, what the hell is you talking about? How to be something that I already was, that my forefathers taught them. They didn't know none of this in Europe, in the caves in Europe. But the Romans, African Romans, the Egyptians taught the Romans, and then the Egyptians taught the Greeks, and Greeks taught the Romans. The start. But yet, you trying to, when you trying to, and you got haters, right? You're going to always have haters. But when you trying to be your original self, you're going to always have somebody say, you trying to be like them. Be like, well, I beg your pardon. Verbal Creek Radio, we out.